What's up? Welcome back to my channel, or for the first time if you're new, I'm Sylvan, and today I'm going to be reacting to the Myriad Celestia trailer, Scene 999, Game Not Over. Once again, another piece in the Silver Wolf series of promotional videos. I'm very excited to see what we get here. I would not be surprised if, based on the thumbnail, this has to do with the details of why supposedly Elio keeps Silver Wolf's cartridge, usually not letting her go all out, because I think we had something mentioned about that being dangerous, but I don't think we got too many details of why or how, so I'm curious to see if we get any more info here. Either way, though, I'm just super excited to see what we get, so feel free to like and subscribe if you enjoy the video, leave a comment on your thoughts, consider becoming a channel member if you want to support me just that little bit extra, and let's get into this. What are we getting ourselves into here? Oh.
When was the last time you ever lost?
Oh. What a way to start.
You're running out of time.
But she hasn't given up. Elio, do you really believe she can do things I can't?
Elio
What
says
is
it's
this?
because she doesn't believe in limits that she's here.
No limits.
She's back.
429 times.
Oh.
How do you want to die this time?
She's just been fighting whatever this thing is over and over again. Okay, jump back.
Join us, Punk Lord's esteem.
Ah, her recruitment.
I already said we can make a deal. But you have no bargaining chip or sincerity.
Elio wants me to ask you, how long has your cartridge been stuck at the current level?
Ooh, the moment.
Too nosy.
Forgive me. This is our bargaining chip, and this is our sincerity.
What?
The Eons set a limit for you. Join us, and you'll have the chance to break through it.
Yo.
Watch carefully. This is how to use ether editing.
A glimpse of what she could become.
Infinite
Whoa.
upgrades. There was once someone who believed these lies too.
I love the color.
Dark Empire and crushed the IPC. She united the Rangers and hackers and brought the tavern under her banner.
Whoa.
Finally, she breached Device 9 and supplanted Polka.
What?
As if such a person could exist. Wait, unless you're...
You're
She
me.
won all games and stood at the peak of elation.
She never lost, she kept getting more.
How can you?
through... this.
What?
Whoa.
I see. I remember you said the Stellaron Hunters exist to rewrite the finality.
She knows more than we did.
Rewrite their own narratives,
Yo!
too. So, the only one who can beat you is yourself.
Yo! Steal the arm, slap it
No
on.
one cares. Right now, I just want to knock you out.
Every single game is the most important one at the time. Oh, this is hype as hell. I love this. Ooh, going out of the bounds of the aspect ratio. Fuck yeah.
Looks like lending you an arm wasn't enough.
This is so fucking cool.
Knowing one's future may not change a person.
Yo,
The unpredictable elation has the power to interfere with the script.
really? Is that truly why they recruited her? Because she can mess with the script?
When was the last time you ever lost?
That's
Flipping it.
something I can't even remember anymore.
Also, this idea of returning to loss.
Me. I'll be watching you.
Okay.
Quiet. You won't be my endgame.
Yo, that is so hype. Oh, but can she not contain that power? Oh, and she's suddenly in her, Sauron Hunter outfit.
We'll hold on to this cartridge for
Ooh,
you
the
in
aspect
the
ratio.
meantime.
Who do you take me for? I won't become Destiny's slave.
Anything above level 999 is the God's domain.
Really? So she's at
Come
the
now.
moment before
The game to
that.
hunt an Eon is about to begin.
Holy shit. Oh, and the glowing eyes. I love it. Interesting. So, how? Okay. Ooh, that's cool. That is cool. This is such a cool trailer. I love that this is essentially the next chapter in the story of Silverwolf. The improv tour trailer gave us her origin, her attaining this power from Aha, and hypothetically being granted the power of an emanator or the potential to reach that height via leveling up beyond level 99, as well as this establishment of this thematic idea of weakness and constantly seeking more power, and alongside that being afraid of losing, that kind of thing. And we now see the next step of it. She's hit her next limit and she needs to break beyond that. There's a lot of fun stuff here that I want to go through more thoroughly, but before I do, I want to actually touch on this last shot real quick, because it actually tells us a bit of the timeline of things. The fact that Sam/Firefly is in this lineup tells us that Silverwolf is the newest member of the Stellaron Hunters. Where before we were unsure, I don't think we had confirmation of the exact order that people joined. We now have essentially confirmation that Silverwolf is the newest. That's a cool detail. Jumping back to the beginning though, this is such a strong way to open this. No context, no idea what's going on. We just have this visual of this shadowy, glowing version, bigger, taller version of Silverwolf, who has oppressively seemingly defeated the Silverwolf from the improv tour trailer, the pre-Stellaron Hunter Silverwolf. And it's here where we get the line that gets mirrored by the end of "When was the last time you ever lost?" The dark reflection of her, which we of course learn later to be some kind of like echo of her future almost, a version of her in the future where she becomes this nigh godlike being, and she asks her past self, when was the last time you ever lost? Which inevitably ties back to the improv tour trailer with the fear of her own weakness and loss. Losing and winning and striving for power was something very strongly defined as a core piece of her character in the improv tour trailer, and this picks up on that again. And of course, initially here, this line speaks to more of a just sort of taunt, but it ends up, of course, having more interesting relevance on the backside of this trailer. But it's in this early bit that we get some very interesting implications. First, we get the line from Kafka to presumably this version of Silverwolf that she's running out of time, which she responds by saying she hasn't given up yet, referring to her past self/present self, before questioning Elio, saying, do you really believe she can do things I can't? It paints a picture that this version of Silverwolf from this alternate future has some understanding or relationship with Elio to some degree. It perhaps could be a sign of Elio's power. Given what we know of the finality at this point and of Elio, my immediate thought is that Elio, as a cat of the finality, moves backwards in time to some extent. So is it possible then that this is a version of Silverwolf from a alternate timeline or whatever that Elio has brought back with them, or has sort of manifested from this possibility of the future for a dedicated purpose? And if that is the case, seemingly that purpose is to essentially unlock the limiter of present-day Silverwolf by passing on this power to some degree, basically speed-running Silverwolf past her limits. Because for whatever reason, Elio believes that this version of Silverwolf, the modern-day one that we know, can do something that this future version can't, despite being this extremely powerful level 999 being who supposedly, as we get in a moment here, has basically like conquered and subjugated and ruled over massive like swaths of the known universe by like taking out organizations, becoming the leader of others, some hidden potential, some secret purpose or something. But continuing on, the response that Kafka gives in Elio's place to that question is that Elio says it's because she doesn't believe in limits that she's here. We return to this other idea now of there being no chains that can hold Silverwolf down. She infinitely scales upward. She keeps building on her own power and growing and improving and seeking more. She does not believe that she will ever hit a point where there isn't still more for her to go after, more for her to do, even if that is just to play the lousy game of life. And it's with that we then get the implication that this fight has been going on for a while, and that Silverwolf has effectively died hundreds of times in this battle. Something that shows simultaneously her tenacity and also the brutality of this fight, while also expressing her own power. If she is literally dying, the capacity for her to just come back is shocking, if that is truly what is happening. But then at this point, we jump back 15 hours to before the fight, to when Kafka is evidently trying to recruit none other than Silverwolf. It's here that we get the idea that she's open to cooperation, but has no real reason to do so currently, claiming they don't have a bargaining chip. But this is, of course, where Kafka reveals, of course they have a trump card. They know that Silverwolf is stuck at her current level, which I think is around like 300 is where we see her at before she starts stealing parts of her future self, which implies, though she does not believe in limits, she's hit another wall. The first one was level 99, now it's 300. How does she get beyond that? That is something she is seeking, and it clearly is something that bothers her. The fact that she isn't improving is an issue to her. At which point, though, she attacks, clearly just an outburst because they poked at a sore spot for her. Only then, of course, for this fight to begin with the introduction of the level 999 version of herself. And it's here that we get some explanation on who exactly this version of her is. Kafka stating the Aeons set a limit for you. Whether that is Aha, who gave power to be an emanator but didn't want her to become too powerful, or the other Aeons forced her to not become too powerful, even if Aha wouldn't mind, which I feel like is more likely given the sort of things we know about Aha and the vibe given off in the improv tour trailer. I don't believe that Aha would want to limit Silverwolf based on how the interactions in the improv tour trailer went, but regardless, Kafka makes her pitch. If you join us, you'll have the chance to break through that limit. You'll be able to go beyond what the limits the Aeons have put on you are. And it's here that we hear the story of this version of Silverwolf. She believed the lies, quote unquote, as she puts it, that there would be infinite growth, infinite power, that she could just infinitely break through any limit she found. The fact, though, that she refers to this idea as a lie that she believed is interesting. Perhaps that is the difference between this version and the one we know, where this one, despite reaching incredible heights, lost their belief that there are no limits, that you could break through any limit and you can always get more powerful. They finally eventually accepted they had hit their limit of level 999, presumably the limit the Aeons put on her, just below the barrier of Aeonhood, where, of course, as we know, if even thinking there is the slightest chance, maybe not even with that, as we are learning, our Silverwolf does not believe in limits. It was stated as such earlier. She still believes what this one believes to be a lie. And perhaps with the Stellaron Hunters, it won't be a lie. But regardless, in the case of this one, they hit that limit. They hit that barrier, couldn't push past it. Regardless, though, they did great, incredible things. They founded an empire. They crushed the IPC, one of the most dominant groups in the entire universe that we know of. She united countless factions while subjugating others, including the Rangers and Hackers, as well as the Tavern. And we even have this image of these beaten and broken monkeys, almost certainly implying that she was able to defeat Dr. Primitive at some point. She even overthrew Polka Kakamond, supplanting her in her own organization. Truly became one of the most powerful and dominant beings in the entire setting, just under the Aeons. gods. But it's here that even our Silver Wolf questions how could anyone be capable of that, before realizing, wait a minute, unless you're, and presumably was going to say me, which is interesting, because that implies that Silver Wolf believes the only person capable of getting to such heights would be me. I am the only person who could keep pushing past my limit until I literally surpass everything around me just under the gods. But then we once again have the interesting irony of the next line from this future self, saying, if I couldn't break past that final barrier into Aeonhood, how can you? With the context, of course, essentially stating it is impossible to break through that final barrier. I am you. I tried, I failed, I have done incredible things, but that barrier is unbreakable. And it's here where we have the badass moment where Silver Wolf begins to steal away the power of her future self, pushing herself far past her current limit, fast-tracking her gain of power to what this other version who did all this was the absolute peak they could ever achieve in their life. And it's here that she begins to piece things together. The Stellaron Hunters seek to rewrite the finality, and within that, they are here to rewrite their own endings too. So if I were to join them, I could do the same. This is my ending I'm staring in the face. A version of me who, despite achieving greatness, has given up on their belief in limitless potential. And that is an ending I need to rewrite. I have no limit. That is what it speaks to me as here. And it's with one of the next lines that we get a line that I think shows the distinction between our Silver Wolf and this future version of her. The future one reached the peaks of elation, literally could not go beyond their current power because they had done everything they could within the bounds of the elation. But while this one chose to believe that is my limit, I have done everything I can with my power, our Silver Wolf doesn't care about the peak of elation. That is not what her focus is on. She is not focused on a peak, she is focused on the eternal climb. If she reached the peak of elation, she would just find another way to keep going. And with what we learn later of the aspect of level 999 being the cap just below the level of eons, of course you couldn't get beyond that if you limited yourself just to the elation, because to go beyond that into Aeonhood, you would have to be something of your own. You would have to either subsume the elation as a whole and become it, or you would have to become an Aeon of your own, embody your own path. And that is something I believe now that Silver Wolf would try to do. And it's at this point we just get this beautiful sequence of combat, incredible work done with aspect ratio, like fuckery. It's so good looking. At which point though, as the battle concludes, Silver Wolf literally tearing apart her future self to patch all of the power into herself. We get this narration of sorts from Kafka. Knowing one's future finality, their end, may not change a person. You can know your future and that will not necessarily change your future, but the unpredictable elation has the power to interfere with the script. The elation is so reality bending in its nature that it cannot be predicted by the fate of the end. The finality does not control the elation. It is not shackled by it. And so, when put in tandem with showing a being of elation, their own future, their own finality, that can change then. That potentially could change a lot of the script. No wonder Silver Wolf was recruited by the Stellaron Hunters. She very well may be a linchpin in their entire plan to be able to rewrite the script. And in another sense, in line with that, tying it back actually into the actual story of Plain Arcadia, she could make a remarkably powerful variable for someone like Yao Guang. And it's at this point the fight truly comes to an end. Having surpassed her future self, nearly reaching the peak that her future self did as she drains away more levels from her, she flips the question from the beginning back at her. When was the last time you ever lost? And the response we get is that's something I can't even remember anymore. The idea of losing isn't even a thought in her mind. Perhaps that is why she hasn't gone beyond her limit. Perhaps that is why. She became complacent. She didn't even think losing was a possibility. She was no longer weak. She didn't have the drive, the ambition to keep going. She did not think she needed more power to protect what she had gained. She was not afraid of her own weakness. And in that sense, perhaps Aha, or whatever figure representing Aha it was in the Improv Tour trailer, was right to say, may you always stay this weak. That nagging fear of weakness in the back of the head, that need to keep getting stronger, that might be what is necessary for her to keep constantly breaking those limits. And in an interesting sense, by defeating her future self, who had reached this peak, perhaps that in of itself continues to bolster that fear of weakness in her, knowing that there is still the possibility at the peak that she reaches in the future to be defeated. She needs to go higher if she is to never be defeated. But it's then, as we see the real face of this version of Silverwolf, she essentially gives her blessing to our Silverwolf. Just keep winning like me. But Silverwolf could honestly care less, as she asserts, you won't be my endgame. I will not end where you did. But then after that, she, despite having attained level 999 far earlier than she ever should have, she realizes, thanks to Kafka and the lack of being able to control it, that she can't. She doesn't have the ability to fully harness that power always. And it's here that we come to understand the dynamic of why she joins, other than what I talked about before. Elio and the Stellaron Hunters hold on to the cartridge as she becomes more powerful naturally to be able to control it, to be able to actually hold on to this power for at least bursts of time. When they specifically need to break the script, to get beyond its bounds, the limits of destiny. As she asserts, she will not be Destiny's slave, and they don't intend to make her one, I don't think, as she plays a very important part in the game to hunt an Aeon. And that is effectively where we end things for this trailer. It is so incredibly hype. I love it so much for just everything it continues to build on Silverwolf's character. I feel like we're getting so much more of an image of both her past, who she is in the present, and her future, both literally and just sort of narratively. It's super, super cool. But with that, I think I will end things there. Feel free to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, leave a comment on your thoughts, and very special thanks to all of my channel members, including Amorphosilica, Dweller, Pokelove101, and Unusual Echo at the normal tier, and Kono Nano at the cool person tier. Really appreciate your support, as always, and I hope you all have a great day. Bye-bye!